So how long do you think humans can live?
I I asked 55 experts, and actually we're going to come out with a document that shares the tips, right? So I got your tips, all 55 experts. What are their tips? That's going to be available for free when somebody registers for the free summit. Actually, the summit's coming out in February, and I know you'll have a link in your description. And so I asked everyone, how long do they want to live, and how long do they think they can live? Just an interesting data point. Only two people gave the same number, right? Which is just kind of interesting in terms of mindset, right? I believe humans can live X, but that's not where my number is, right? That's just very interesting. I personally believe with our technology today, we're probably at 120 in that range. And that was a number that was given by a
Mhm.
lot of the experts. But I believe that we're going to be making quantum shifts in how long we can live really quickly. And, they say now back in 1950, medical knowledge doubled every 5 years. Currently, they say medical knowledge is doubling every 73 days, right?
Wow.
Doubling of medical knowledge. And just think about how many more people there are on the planet and how many more people are in labs. And I always love the example, in the old days, if somebody in whatever, in a remote part of Kazakhstan knew how to do a little bit of biology and was excited about something, they were just in a vacuum, right? There was nothing, there's no collaboration or anything. But now you can have that person in Kazakhstan and some kid in Ecuador, and now they can connect on the internet and they can be excited together and they can motivate each other. Like these are orders of magnitudes increases in creative people pushing each other creatively in different endeavors. And I think we've already experienced some of that. I mean, look how shocking AI is, right? ChatGPT comes out, and I have a conversation. Actually, my co-author, pretty excited. The co-author of my book is a two-time New York #1 bestseller. He's 77 years old, and I was like, "Hey, could you help us with this content here? Not the book, but this content here." And I'm going to suggest this. And he was like, "Nah, yeah, like in his head, it can't be that good." And I said, "Jerome, let me show you." And so I showed him, and you can do things like, what is give me the pros and cons of electric vehicles from four perspectives. We'll just do like Republican, Democrat, scientists, and environmentalists, and it'll bust out like answers, like 2 to 3 paragraph intelligent paragraphs of those. Like, we didn't think that was possible last year, right? Like if somebody told you, in fact, I remember probably 5 years ago, maybe more like 8. I was at a seminar and somebody was like, "Yeah, all the content is going to be written by computer soon." And
Mhm.
not, in my head, I was like, not only is it not going to be written by computers soon, I just don't see that ever happening. And then here we are, like the content.
Mhm.
Google actually recently changed their guidelines and says good content used to be content written by people for people, and now
Mhm.
it's just content written for people. They actually took the by people out. So they accept AI content in their algorithm. So I think that's why I think that we're going to see quantum shifts, and I ultimately think that David Sinclair is right. That
Mhm.
if I can take a cell from your finger and I can create a baby Dr. Joy, which we can do, right? I don't. There's probably somebody who's doing it somewhere, but we shouldn't be yet. I don't know what other the restrictions are, but we can certainly do this with animal models. But then that means that every cell in your body has the information to be a young Dr. Joy, right? Like that information is there. His concept is we just got to figure out how to, like, what are the levers to pull and how do we pull them and potentially revert you to the age you want to be. Like maybe it's
Mhm.
25. And I actually had an interesting conversation in the summit. We're like, yeah, I was probably too irresponsible. And then you're like, well, you're right. Your hormones are different at younger ages that maybe you don't want to go back to. Maybe you want the youth, the youth of 30, but not the hormones of 22, right? Like that's my mind goes to younger, but maybe there's reasons not to be young.
Well, if you can address all the epigenetic factors and, and guide yourself on a different path, maybe you will be a lot better 25-year-old and,
Also, right,
where can
right.
we go? Yeah.
Well, and then add the maturity, right? So you've got the brain cells that you didn't have then, right? Like that's the reality, not brain cells, but brain processes and
Right.
stuff like that.
Memories and wisdom, all the
Yeah.
wire. Yeah. So that's going to be if that day happens, it would be a very interesting adventure for the human race.
And I had one of the talks. So again, a reason to tune in to the Longevity Summit.
Mm,
So my co-author has a storied career across like 3 different industries. He was like an advisor on terrorism at one point, heavy in financial. He's written, I don't even remember the number, 30 books on all sorts of politics and economics. And so I brought him in to have some philosophical conversations, right? Because if we're thinking about living significantly longer, we should be thinking about, okay, one, equities, right? Does everybody have access to this technology? And as with most new technology, the answer on day one is no, it's too expensive. But where are we going to be on whatever day 50 and then day 100, if that's the span, in order to make sure that everybody has access to it? So those are interesting conversations. What do we do? Because people automatically think in terms of a population crisis, right? But Elon Musk and a number of people are sounding the alarm that we're running out of people. Like, we're not creating enough new people, and this is problematic. And you look at, how many times I think we were supposed to run out of fuel, gas, and food in the 70s, but that didn't happen. Well, why didn't it happen? Because people, smart people, maybe one in Kazakhstan, one in Ecuador now, like got together and solved the problem that we're thinking we can't solve. Like it's people is the resource, like the brains of people is the real resource. And so I think people will probably have less kids, right? Because there's not that much drive anymore. And then if you put everybody back to age 25, then everybody can mingle with everybody. But you're like, I don't want to have kids. Like I've already done that, or I'm not interested, or whatever, right? There a lot of that we kind of discuss in that kind of philosophical conversation with Dr. Jerome Corsi.